Last video, I looked at William Bailey's Haunted Mansion. Up next, I have The Last Dance of Lola Montez. This is a modern era, I can use my words, a modern era Call of Cthulhu scenario by David Waldron. David reached out to me to take a look at these, and I'm very interested in doing so. So I received the package with the two scenarios. They are available through the Call of Cthulhu Miskatonic repository, which you can get on DriveThruRPG. What do we have here? Apologies, I have a lot of glare today, like more than usual even. 5 friends united by grief face torments driven by a dark threat through hidden... See, I barely even dipped into my gin and tonic. Super hot today here in the DC area. I'm using this here to keep cool. But I can't blame it for my inability to read basic words. Let's try that again. 5 friends, united by grief, face torments driven by a dark threat thought hidden for over a century. A threat driven by a dark thirst for passion soaked in blood. The Last Dance of Lola Montez is a one-shot Call of Cthulhu modern-era adventure which explores the dark legacy of Australia's gold rush history. By the author of the award-winning William Bailey's Haunted Mansion, historian David Waldron. Again, apologies if I mispronounce your name. Some of that might just be that I'm American. Some of it's that I'm terrible at pronouncing stuff. But that is, in fact, this scenario, which I looked at in a previous video. I would say the previous video, as I said, I believe at the beginning, but I'm not 100% sure these will air in direct chronological order. I never know exactly how they're going to end up posting. I mean, it's while I'm recording them anyway. So we have, again, in full color, it looks like here, or at least in color, I believe full color. We have more connections to Australian history, which is very cool. As I mentioned in the video that I recorded about William Bailey's Haunted Mansion, I was, excuse me, obsessed as a young man with Australia, with the idea. I watched a lot of movies out of Australia, a lot of the early, the Ozploitation movies from the late 70s and early 80s. I read a lot of stuff, a lot of science fiction that was set in Australia, some of it written by Australians. I was obsessed with Australia and always thought I was going to spend a lot of time there and never did. This is really cool. I love handouts, and there's like so many cool handouts here. And yes, as I mentioned in the William Bailey's Haunted Mansion first look, full character sheets. I love when the scenarios have the actual full useful character sheets and not just a highlights sheet, which having run a Cold Fire Within, and I was really trying to run it out of the book because I have not in my life as a gamer, I have not run a lot of scenarios directly out of books. Typically, I would rewrite things to the point where I was just running them out of my notes. All this, blah, blah, blah. But I was really trying to run that out of the book because I'm trying to get into the skill. It's a different skill set of running pre-written scenarios. I've read a bunch of them, but I've run very few. And I want to run more. In part because, among other things, I'd like to run Masks of Nyarlathotep. And when running The Cold Fire Within, one of the things I kept running into is that the character sheets provided are not particularly useful pre-generated characters. And in fact, running it again, or actually partway through running it, but running it again, I would just have to go in and make all of those characters, all those pre-gen characters, myself as full characters. So I love seeing the actual full character sheet done. That's what I'm getting at. I wish that more scenarios did that. I'm glad to see that several of the ones that I picked up from Miskatonic Repository do that. I think it's great. I think it's good practice. And I think, yeah, it makes me happy to see. So I'm really excited to dip into this one and check this out. Both of these scenarios with their connections to Australian history seem really neat. I will admit I don't run contemporary Call of Cthulhu. Part of the fun for me with Call of Cthulhu is the historic setting. Be that the 1920s, the 1890s, 1060 in the Holy Land, or what have you. Sometimes like a science fiction setting as well. I don't tend to run a Call of Cthulhu in the modern day. I'm less interested, for example, in Delta Green, which is a very modern game. I realize it's not Call of Cthulhu. It has its own system now. And I've talked before when I did a video like this for the Delta Green print on demand from Drive-Thru, that now the 90s is removed enough that I can look at it as not contemporary anymore. It is a historic setting because there's enough cultural difference and enough technological difference for me to feel like it is another world in that sense. Would this translate to, say, something like Delta Green? Delta Green of the 90s, not Delta Green that is currently being made. Let's be clear, as I definitely was not. I'm not sure, so I'll have to take a look at this scenario. Maybe I would run it as is. Maybe I would run it as a 90s period piece. Maybe I would take the historic information from this and run a historic set game. I don't know, but I'm excited to check it out. I like a lot of these Miskatonic Repository scenarios because they really, people have their passions, and it mentions the author is a historian, and historian, I'm assuming, with some focus on Australian history. That's the kind of thing that I think, here's the other scenario from the previous video, I think it can make for some really great stuff. I don't know how much I've talked about it here on this channel, but now that I live in the greater DC area, I used to live in northern New England, and I'm from Maine originally. And when I used to run Call of Cthulhu in the 90s and early 2000s, I typically would set it in my hometown, Bangor, Maine, or somewhere near there. Now that I am in the DC area, I find myself attracted to setting Call of Cthulhu scenarios in the Washington, DC area. And that then allows me a lens to dig into DC's very, very interesting and complex history. And that delving into hyper-specific locales and their history, and not just staying in Lovecraft's Arkham and that kind of thing, which is great and fine, no problem. But I like that there are these books out here that explore ideas from places outside of a fictionalized New England, basically Massachusetts. I love it. I love it. And I love that people are out there, that something like Miskatonic Repository allows quality work to be done that looks at different stuff. I think that's great. Anyway, sorry, I got sidetracked, and I haven't, again, even really been drinking. Just really excited to take a look at this. So thank you to David. Thank you very much. I look forward to reading these. We'll see, maybe by the time, because honestly, as I'm recording this, I know that I have videos posted going out about a month. So it may be a little bit before these videos post, and maybe hopefully by then I'll have actually had a chance to read these, and I'll try to put the link to the written review in the doobly-doo below. Anyhow, until next time, stay groovy. Take care.